The Milky Way is so large that even our solar system can disappear inside one small part of it. We are not near the center. We are not on the edge. We live inside a smaller structure called the Orion Arm, a quiet spiral feature filled with stars, dust, gas, nebulae, and worlds we will never reach. From Earth, it feels like home. The sun feels central. The planets feel close. Even the nearest stars feel like neighbors. But when you zoom out, the truth becomes unsettling. Our entire solar system is only a tiny point inside a stellar river thousands of light years long. The Orion Arm stretches around us in darkness, carrying famous stars, glowing nebulae, ancient clusters, and hidden regions where new suns are still being born. And yet, compared to the Milky Way itself, even this arm is only a small piece of something far greater. Before we begin, write in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is in your country right now. And if you enjoy calm journeys into the mysteries of space, subscribe to Theories Before Sleep. We travel into the true scale of the Orion Arm and why our solar system feels almost lost inside it. We live inside a structure so large that from within it, it is almost invisible. Every night, when you look up at the stars, you are not looking at the Milky Way from the outside. You are looking from inside it. You are buried within its disk, surrounded by stars in every direction, trapped inside one of its smaller spiral features, trying to understand the shape of a galaxy that is too large for any human eye to see whole. This is one of the strangest things about our place in space. We know the Milky Way is a spiral galaxy, but we have never seen it from above. Every image you have ever seen showing the full Milky Way from the outside is either another galaxy, an artist's impression, or a scientific reconstruction. We cannot send a camera above the galaxy and take a picture of our home. We cannot rise 50,000 light years above the disk and look down at the glowing spiral arms. We cannot see our true address from the outside. We are inside the map. And inside that map, our solar system is located in a smaller spiral structure called the Orion Arm. Sometimes it is called the local arm, sometimes the Orion Spur. But no matter what name we give it, the meaning is the same. This is our neighborhood inside the Milky Way. Not a neighborhood like a city block, not even like the region around nearby stars. The Orion Arm is thousands of light years across and many thousands of light years long. It contains stars, nebulae, molecular clouds, star-forming regions, stellar clusters, dark dust lanes, and countless worlds we will never see directly. And somewhere inside it, almost lost in the glow, is the sun. A single ordinary star. Around that star is Earth. Around Earth is everything humanity has ever known. Every ocean, every mountain, every city, every language, every life. All of it exists inside one tiny point in the Orion Arm. That is the first scale we have to feel. The solar system, which feels enormous to us, is almost nothing compared with the structure that contains it. Neptune, the most distant major planet, orbits the Sun at a distance so large that sunlight takes hours to reach it. Pluto, farther out, drifts through the cold borderlands. Beyond that are icy bodies, dwarf planets, comets, and the vast imagined shell of the Oort cloud, stretching perhaps a light year or more from the Sun. To us, that is almost impossibly large. A spacecraft takes years just to reach the outer planets. Voyager 1 has been traveling since 1977 and has only barely entered interstellar space. The edge of the Sun's influence is so far away that human history feels too short to measure it properly. And yet, even if we include the entire outer solar system, even if we imagine the Oort cloud as our farthest boundary, our home is still only a tiny bubble inside the Orion Arm, a grain inside a river of stars. That is the uncomfortable truth. We often imagine the solar system as a complete place: the sun, the planets, the moons, the asteroid belt, the Kuiper belt, the comets, the darkness. It feels like a cosmic island. But the Orion Arm makes that island almost disappear. The nearest stars are already several light years away. Proxima Centauri, the closest known star to the Sun, is over 4 light years from us. Light itself needs more than 4 years to cross that gap. A spacecraft like Voyager would need tens of thousands of years to reach it if it were even headed exactly that way. 4 light years feels enormous, but the Orion Arm is not 4 light years wide. It is thousands. The distance to the nearest star is only the first step into the local darkness. Beyond that are more stars, then more, then nebulae, then star clusters, then clouds of gas so large that they can give birth to entire groups of suns. The Orion Arm is not a small empty corridor with the sun in the middle. It is a vast stellar environment, a structure of matter and light embedded in the disk of the Milky Way. And we are not at its edge looking in. We are inside it. That makes our perspective strange. From Earth, the nearby stars look scattered. Sirius shines brightly. Betelgeuse glows red in Orion. Rigel burns blue-white. The Pleiades gather in a tiny cluster. The Orion Nebula appears as a soft patch to the naked eye under dark skies. The Milky Way itself stretches across the sky like a cloudy river of light. But these are not decorations on a ceiling. They are pieces of our local spiral arm seen from within. Some are closer, some are farther, some are in front of others. Some are not physically related at all, only appearing near each other from our line of sight. A constellation is a human pattern. A spiral arm is a galactic structure, and the Orion Arm is the structure we live inside. It is not one single object, like a planet or a star. It is not a solid arm rotating like a machine part. It is more like a region where stars, gas, and dust are gathered in a curved lane within the galaxy. Spiral arms are not permanent fixed roads. They are patterns in the disk, shaped by gravity, density waves, star formation, and the motion of stars and gas around the galactic center. The stars inside them move. The gas flows. New stars are born. Old stars drift away. The arm is not frozen. It is alive with motion. Our sun is moving too. It is orbiting the center of the Milky Way at hundreds of kilometers per second, carrying Earth and every planet with it. It takes roughly hundreds of millions of years for the sun to complete one orbit around the galaxy. Since the sun was born, it has gone around the Milky Way only about 20 times. Only 20 galactic years. That thought alone changes everything. Earth's entire history, from its molten beginning to oceans, continents, dinosaurs, mammals, humans, and cities, has unfolded during a few dozen trips around the galactic center. The rise and fall of life on Earth happened while the sun slowly moved through the stellar environment of the Milky Way. And right now, during this small moment in cosmic time, we are located inside the Orion Arm. The Orion Arm is not one of the Milky Way's grandest arms. It is smaller than the major spiral arms, often described as a local branch or spur between larger structures like the Sagittarius Arm and the Perseus Arm. This makes our position feel even more humbling. We do not live in the center of the galaxy. We do not live in one of its most dramatic star-forming arms. We live in a smaller local feature, between larger galactic structures in a quiet region around an ordinary star. And still, this smaller feature is enormous beyond comprehension. The Orion Arm may be only a local branch by galactic standards, but to human minds it is vast enough to contain thousands of lifetimes of distance. Its star-forming regions are far beyond our reach. Its clouds of gas are larger than anything in the solar system. Its famous stars are separated by distances so huge that even light takes centuries or millennia to connect them. Consider the Orion Nebula. From Earth, it is one of the most beautiful and famous nebulae in the sky. Under dark conditions, it looks like a faint glow in Orion's sword. Through telescopes, it becomes a bright nursery of gas, dust, and newborn stars. It is one of the closest major star-forming regions to us, and yet it is more than 1,000 light years away. More than 1,000 years for light. A photograph of the Orion Nebula shows us a place as it was long before modern civilization. The photons entering our telescopes began traveling before many of the events we think of as ancient history. And this nebula, which already feels unimaginably far, is still part of our wider local galactic neighborhood. That is the scale of the Orion Arm. A region can be close in galactic terms and still unreachable to us in any practical sense. Betelgeuse is another example. It sits in Orion's shoulder from our point of view, a red supergiant nearing the end of its life. Its light has traveled hundreds of years to reach us. Rigel, another bright star in Orion, is also hundreds of light years away. These stars appear together in the same constellation, but in reality they are separated by vast depths. The sky compresses distance. The Orion Arm restores it. When we say our solar system feels lost inside it, we do not mean lost as in drifting without location. We know where we are. We can measure distances. We can map nearby stars. We can estimate the structure of the arm around us. But emotionally, the word lost fits, because our home is so small compared with the arm that contains it. A planet is small beside us. A star is small beside a stellar neighborhood. A stellar neighborhood is small beside a spiral arm, and a spiral arm is small beside the galaxy. Every time we zoom out, what once seemed central becomes a detail. Earth becomes a point. The solar system becomes a point. The sun becomes one star among billions. The Orion Arm becomes only a smaller feature inside the Milky Way, and the Milky Way itself becomes one galaxy among countless others. This is the ladder of scale that astronomy forces us to climb. It is beautiful, but it is not always comfortable, because human beings evolved to understand distances on Earth. A valley, a mountain, a coastline, a road between cities. Even the distance to the moon can be imagined with effort. The distance to Mars begins to stretch us. The distance to Neptune strains the mind. The distance to the nearest star breaks our intuition completely. And then the Orion Arm asks us to go thousands of times farther. We are not built to feel these scales naturally. We can say the number, but feeling them is different. To feel the Orion Arm, imagine taking the entire solar system and shrinking it down until the orbit of Neptune fits inside a small room. The sun becomes a tiny point. Earth becomes almost invisible. The outer planets are tiny dots. The Oort cloud might stretch far beyond the walls, but still within a manageable human imagination. Now imagine the nearest star not in the next room, but far across a city. Then imagine the Orion Arm not across a city, not across a country, not across a planet, but across a distance so large that the model becomes useless. Every analogy fails eventually. That is what real scale does. It destroys comparison. The Orion Arm is a reminder that space is not only large, it is large in layers. There is the size of a planet, the size of an orbit, the size of a planetary system, the distance between stars, the length of spiral arms, the diameter of galaxies, the gaps between galaxies. Each layer makes the previous one feel smaller, and we live inside all of them at once. You are on Earth. Earth is in the solar system. The solar system is inside the Orion Arm. The Orion Arm is inside the Milky Way. The Milky Way is inside the local group. The local group is part of larger cosmic structures. But tonight, we stay inside our galactic neighborhood, because even this one structure is enough to humble us. The Orion Arm contains famous regions that humans have looked at for thousands of years without knowing they were part of our local spiral environment. Orion, of course, gives the arm its name. The Orion constellation is not the arm itself, but the sky direction and associated regions helped shape how we describe this local structure. The arm includes star-forming clouds, young stellar groups, and bright associations. It includes the neighborhood around the sun and many of the stars visible in our night sky. It includes dark clouds, where new stars may someday ignite, and old stars drifting quietly through the galactic disk. It is not empty, it is not silent, it is not still. It is a moving, evolving stream of stellar material. But from Earth, we experience it as a sky. That is what makes our perspective so strange. We are inside a galactic structure, but we see it as constellations. We are inside a river of stars, but we see it as points of light. We are inside the disk of the Milky Way, but we see it as a band across the night. The universe surrounds us so completely that we mistake its interior view for the whole picture. Imagine being a fish inside a vast ocean, trying to understand the shape of the entire sea by looking at currents and light above. That is something like our position. We are inside the Milky Way's disk, measuring stars, gas clouds, and motions from within the system itself. Every map is an achievement because we are mapping our home from the inside out. The Orion Arm is one of the first parts of that map that matters personally. It is our arm, our local branch, our place in the spiral. But it is also so large that calling it local almost feels absurd. A spacecraft leaving the solar system has not truly explored the Orion Arm. It has barely moved beyond the Sun's neighborhood. Voyager 1, the farthest human-made object, is still less than one light day away from us. One light day. Compared with a structure thousands of light years long, that is almost nothing. Humanity has not yet crossed even the front step of our local galactic home. We have sent machines to the edge of the Sun's influence. We have mapped planets. We have landed on Mars. We have flown past Pluto. We have detected exoplanets around other stars. But physically, we remain extremely close to our origin. The Orion Arm continues around us, almost entirely untouched. That thought can feel lonely. We are surrounded by stars and yet unable to reach them. We live inside a stellar arm and have explored only one star system. The sky is full of places, but almost all of them remain beyond us. And still, knowing where we are matters, because location changes identity. For most of human history, Earth was the world. Then it became a planet. Then the Sun became one star. Then the Milky Way became a galaxy. Then the Sun found its place inside a spiral arm. Each step did not make Earth less important in the human sense, but it made our physical position clearer. We are not the center. We are not outside. We are not lost in total randomness. We are in a particular place, a quiet region of the Orion Arm orbiting a stable star, far from the dangerous central regions of the Milky Way, far from the densest star-forming storms, in a location calm enough for life to persist for billions of years. That may matter more than we realize. If the Sun had formed too close to the galactic center, the environment might have been more dangerous, more radiation, more close stellar encounters, more gravitational disturbance, more supernovae nearby. If it had formed in a more chaotic region, the solar system's history might have been different. Our location inside the Orion Arm may be part of why Earth had time. Time for oceans, time for chemistry, time for life, time for intelligence, time for us to look up and ask where we are. So the Orion Arm is not just a scale lesson, it is part of our story. The quietness of our neighborhood may have helped make us possible. The Sun's path through the galaxy, the local density of stars, the nearby interstellar environment, and the relative calm around us all belong to the larger conditions of Earth's history. We are small inside the Orion Arm, but we are not unrelated to it. The atoms in our bodies were forged by stars that lived and died before the Sun existed. The gas cloud that formed the solar system was part of the Milky Way's long chemical evolution. The Sun was born in the galaxy's disk, likely among other stars, and over time drifted into its present environment. Earth is not separate from the arm around it. It is made from the same galactic story. The Orion Arm is not only where we are, it is part of what made us. That is the deeper feeling behind the scale. When we say our solar system feels lost inside the Orion Arm, we are describing two truths at once. The first is our smallness. The second is our belonging. We are a tiny system in a vast spiral feature, but we are also a product of that feature's galaxy. We are not outside the cosmic process. We are inside it. The dust, gas, stars, and ancient explosions that shaped this region eventually allowed a planet like Earth to form around a star like the Sun. The Orion Arm surrounds us, but it also gave us context. Tonight, part 1 begins with that context. Before we travel across the arm, before we compare its scale to the solar system, before we explore its nebulae, star clusters, and hidden darkness, we first need to feel the simplest truth. Our solar system is not floating alone. It is embedded in a local stellar stream, embedded in a branch of the Milky Way, embedded in a structure so large that the distance from Earth to Neptune becomes almost meaningless. And somewhere inside that immense galactic feature, a small blue planet turns quietly around a yellow star. On that planet, people look up at Orion, at Sirius, at the Pleiades, at the faint glow of the Milky Way, and they see beauty. But what they are really seeing is the inside of their own cosmic neighborhood, a neighborhood too large to cross, too deep to see at once, too ancient to fully imagine. The Orion Arm is around us right now, not far away, not somewhere else. We are inside it, and the more we understand its scale, the more the solar system feels like what it truly is, a tiny warm island lost in a river of stars. To understand the Orion Arm, we have to begin with a difficult idea. Our solar system is not sitting in empty space. It feels that way because space around the Sun is dark. Between planets, there is emptiness. Between the Sun and the nearest stars, there is a silence so vast that even our fastest spacecraft become almost motionless against it. From Earth, the space beyond Neptune feels like the beginning of nothing. But on the scale of the galaxy, we are not in nothing. We are inside a structure, a vast local branch of the Milky Way, filled with stars, dust, gas, magnetic fields, glowing nebulae, dead stars, newborn stars, and ancient clouds drifting slowly through the galactic disk. This is the Orion Arm. And the more closely we look at it, the stranger our neighborhood becomes. The Orion Arm is not a clean spiral road with sharp borders. It is not a solid band of stars. It is not like a bridge, or a wall, or a fixed lane in space. It is a region where matter gathers more densely than the space between arms. A curved river of stellar material, shaped by gravity, star formation, and the slow rotation of the Milky Way. Its edges are blurry. Its shape is uneven. Its stars do not all move together like objects attached to a rigid structure. Some stars are young and bright. Some are old and dim. Some were born in the arm. Some drifted into it. Some will drift out of it over millions of years. The arm is not a thing you could touch. It is a pattern, and we are inside that pattern. That is what makes it so hard to feel. If you could leave the Milky Way and look back from far above, the Orion Arm might appear as a smaller glowing feature between larger arms. Not the grandest spiral structure in the galaxy, not the central bar, not the dense core, not the brilliant star-forming lanes that dominate wide diagrams of the Milky Way. But from inside, this smaller structure is everything around us. The sun is located inside it. The nearest stars are inside it. Many of the brightest stars in our sky are connected to this local galactic environment. The nebulae we photograph, the star clusters we admire, the dark dust clouds that block the Milky Way's glow, all of them are part of the surrounding structure we call home. The Orion Arm is local only when compared with the whole galaxy. To us, it is enormous. It may stretch for thousands of light years, possibly around 10,000 light years or more along its length, with a width of several thousand light years. These numbers are difficult to make precise because we are measuring from within the structure itself, and because the arm is not a sharp object with clear walls. But even the rough scale is enough to overwhelm the imagination. Thousands of light years, not kilometers, not astronomical units, light years. 1 light year is the distance light travels in 1 year, moving at almost 300,000 kilometers per second. That is nearly 9.5 trillion kilometers. And the Orion Arm stretches across thousands of those. The solar system, compared with that, becomes almost invisible. Even the distance from the Sun to Neptune is only a few light hours. The distance to the outer Oort cloud may be measured in fractions of a light year, perhaps more, depending on how we define its edge. But the Orion Arm is measured in thousands of light years. That means our entire solar system, including its farthest icy comets, is like a tiny warm bubble inside a galactic structure so huge that light itself needs thousands of years to cross it. This is why scale becomes unsettling. We are not lost because we have no address. We are lost because our address is too large to imagine. When we say the Sun lives in the Orion Arm, it sounds simple, almost comforting. A label on a cosmic map, but the label hides a terrifying amount of distance. Inside this arm, there are stars whose light began traveling before the pyramids were built. There are nebulae whose photons left before recorded history. There are star clusters so far away that if humans sent a spacecraft toward them today, the journey would outlast every civilization that has ever existed. And they are still considered part of our local galactic neighborhood. That is the meaning of galactic scale. Local does not mean close. Local means close, compared with something even larger. One of the most famous regions connected to our part of the galaxy is the Orion Molecular Cloud Complex. It is a massive star-forming region, a place where cold gas and dust gather into dense clouds, collapsing under gravity to form new stars. From Earth, we see part of this story in the Orion Nebula, that soft glowing patch in Orion's sword. To the naked eye, it is faint. Through a telescope, it becomes breathtaking. But in reality, the Orion Nebula is not just a beautiful object, it is a stellar nursery, a place where stars are being born right now, by cosmic standards. Young, hot stars illuminate the surrounding gas, carving cavities, shaping clouds, and flooding the nebula with radiation. This is happening more than 1,000 light-years away, and yet, in galactic terms, it is nearby. That is difficult to accept. The Orion Nebula is so distant that its light has traveled for over a millennium to reach us, but it is still one of the closest major star-forming regions to Earth. It is part of our broad neighborhood, part of the same local arm environment, part of the sky we inherit by living where we do. If the solar system is a tiny island, the Orion Nebula is another shore so far away that we can see it but cannot reach it. Not in any human time frame, not with any spacecraft we have today. This is one reason the Orion Arm feels both familiar and unreachable. We see its landmarks every night, but we cannot visit them. We see Betelgeuse shining in Orion, a red supergiant nearing the end of its life. We see Rigel, brilliant and blue-white. We see the Orion Nebula, where stars are being born. We see Sirius, the brightest star in Earth's night sky, relatively close compared with many others. We see the Pleiades, a young star cluster shining like a small jewel. All of these appear on the same sky, close enough to fit into human stories. But physically, they are separated by enormous depths. The sky makes distance look flat. The Orion Arm gives that flat sky depth, and once depth appears, the constellations begin to dissolve. Orion is not really one object. It is a pattern made from stars at different distances. Betelgeuse is hundreds of light-years away. Rigel is also hundreds of light-years away, but not at the same exact depth. The belt stars are farther still. The Orion Nebula lies more than 1,000 light-years away. From Earth, the lines connect them. In space, they are separated by vast distances. The constellation is human imagination. The arm is galactic reality. This does not make the constellation less beautiful. It makes it more haunting. We drew a hunter in the sky from stars that are not physically close to one another, and yet those stars still reveal something about our place in the local galaxy. Orion is both myth and map. A story we made, built from real lights inside the Orion Arm. The arm surrounds us in ways we often do not notice. The Milky Way band across the night sky is the densest view along the disk of our galaxy. When you see that pale river of light under a dark sky, you are looking through enormous numbers of stars, dust, and gas. You are looking along the plane of the galaxy, not outside it. You are seeing the inside view of a spiral system that we cannot escape. Some parts of that view are bright because stars are concentrated there. Some parts are dark because dust blocks the light behind them. The darkness is not always emptiness. Sometimes it is material. Cold clouds of dust and gas hiding background stars, places where the galaxy is thick enough to obscure itself. In photographs, these dark lanes look like cracks in the Milky Way, but they are not holes. They are shadows cast by interstellar matter. The Orion Arm contains such material too, not evenly spread, not everywhere, but enough to shape what we see. The space between stars is not simply blank. It contains the interstellar medium, thin gas, dust grains, magnetic fields, cosmic rays, and clouds of matter. Most of it is unbelievably diffuse compared with anything on Earth. But across light years, even thin material becomes important. It can block light, it can form stars, it can be stirred by supernovae, it can be compressed by shock waves. It can become part of future planetary systems. Our Sun is moving through this environment right now. Not through a perfect vacuum, but through a local interstellar neighborhood shaped by past events. Around the solar system is a region often called the local bubble, a large cavity of hot, low-density gas likely created by ancient supernova explosions. These were stars that died long before human history, blasting material outward and carving a bubble in the surrounding interstellar medium. The Sun happens to be inside this bubble. Earth exists inside it too. The solar system is not only inside the Orion Arm, it is inside a smaller local feature within it. A bubble within an arm, a star within a bubble, a planet within a star system, a life-bearing world inside a hierarchy of cosmic structures. This nesting is one of the most humbling aspects of astronomy. Every address has another address around it. Your room is inside a building. The building is inside a city. The city is on Earth. Earth is in the solar system. The solar system is in the local bubble. The local bubble is in the Orion Arm. The Orion Arm is in the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is one galaxy among countless others. At each step, the previous world becomes smaller, but also more connected. The local bubble may have affected the environment through which the Sun moves. Ancient supernovae may have shaped the gas around us. Those explosions may have compressed clouds elsewhere, triggered star formation, or scattered elements into the galaxy. The local structure of space is not random. It has a history. The Orion Arm is filled with histories like this. Stars are born in clouds. Massive stars live short lives. They explode as supernovae. Their shock waves reshape the gas. New stars form. Clusters disperse. Dust drifts. The arm evolves. It is not only a location, it is a process. When we imagine the solar system inside the Orion Arm, we should not picture it frozen in a map. The Sun is moving around the galactic center. Nearby stars are moving too. The arm's gas flows through the disk. Stellar nurseries ignite and fade. The whole structure changes slowly over millions of years. In human time, the sky seems stable. In galactic time, everything is moving. This is another reason the solar system feels lost, not only because it is small, but because it is moving inside a moving environment. We are not parked in the Orion Arm like a house on a street. We are orbiting through the galaxy, carried by the Sun, shaped by gravity, passing through different local regions across vast spans of time. The Sun has not always been exactly where it is now. It will not remain here forever. Over millions of years, nearby stars will change. Constellations will distort. Star-forming regions will shift. The Orion Arm itself will not look the same. The night sky of the distant future will not match ours, just as the sky of the distant past was different. The familiar sky is temporary. Even inside the Orion Arm, nothing is fixed. This makes our current view precious. We live at a moment when Orion looks like Orion, when Betelgeuse marks the shoulder, when the Orion Nebula glows in the sword, when Sirius shines brightly nearby in the sky, when the Pleiades appear as a small cluster to the naked eye, when the Milky Way arches across dark places on Earth in a shape we can still recognize. But these patterns will not last forever. Stars move, massive stars die, clusters disperse, the galaxy turns. The Orion Arm is a dynamic river, and we are seeing one frame of its long motion. A human lifetime is too short to watch this change directly. That is why the stars feel permanent. But scientific measurement reveals the motion hidden beneath stillness. We can measure proper motions, radial velocities, distances, and stellar ages. We can reconstruct how stars move through space. We can understand that the constellations are temporary arrangements. The Orion Arm is not a backdrop, it is a moving environment, and our solar system is drifting through it. The nearest stars show us this in miniature. Proxima Centauri, Alpha Centauri A and B, Barnard's star, Sirius, Epsilon Eridani, Tau Ceti, and others form part of the local stellar neighborhood. Some are close in cosmic terms, some are bright, some are small red dwarfs, invisible to the naked eye. Some may have planets, some may have worlds that will be studied for centuries, yet even the closest stars remain unreachable for now. The distance to Proxima Centauri alone is so large that light takes more than 4 years to cross it. A message would take years. A spacecraft using present technology would need tens of thousands of years. And that is only the nearest neighboring system. The Orion Arm continues far beyond it. This produces a strange psychological effect. We are surrounded by stars, but each one is isolated by a gulf. The galaxy is rich, but travel is almost impossible. The local arm is full of objects, but physical contact with them is beyond our current civilization. Humanity lives inside a crowded region of the galaxy, yet experiences it as loneliness. That is one of the deepest contradictions of space. The universe is full, but distances make it feel empty. The Orion Arm is full of stars, but the solar system still feels alone. From Earth, our sense of cosmic neighborhood is shaped by light, not travel. A star can be visible to us, but that does not make it reachable. A nebula can be photographed beautifully, but that does not make it close. A cluster can appear in binoculars, but that does not make it a destination. Sight tricks us into emotional closeness. Distance corrects the illusion. The Orion Arm is a place we can see but not cross, and that makes our position feel fragile. The solar system is like a lit room inside an enormous dark structure. We know there are other rooms far away. We can see some of their lights. We can measure their positions. We can infer their content, but the hallways between them are so long that walking them may take longer than civilizations survive. This is why our local arm feels less like a neighborhood and more like a cosmic wilderness. It contains the ingredients of familiarity, stars, clouds, worlds, light, but it is too large to feel human. The arm also contains danger. Not immediate danger, not something that threatens Earth tonight, but the galaxy is not a perfectly safe environment. Massive stars can explode. Molecular clouds can disturb the outer edges of star systems. Passing stars can alter comet orbits over long times. Regions of intense star formation can be flooded with radiation. The galactic center is far more violent than our local region. Our position in the Orion Arm is relatively calm. That calm may be important. Earth has had billions of years for life to develop. Complex life requires time. Civilizations require stability. If the solar system had been too close to frequent nearby supernovae, or too deep in a chaotic region of the galaxy, Earth's history might have been different. The quietness of our neighborhood is not nothing. It may be part of the reason we are here. We live in a small local arm, not in the crowded core. We orbit far from the galactic center. We are not inside one of the most violent star-forming complexes. We are in a place active enough to belong to the galaxy's structure, but calm enough for a planet like Earth to remain stable. This balance is subtle. A galaxy must be rich enough to create heavy elements, stars, and planets, but a life-bearing world may need a relatively safe region. The Orion Arm gives us both belonging and distance. We are in the galaxy, but not in its most dangerous heart. We are near star-forming regions, but not inside the worst of their violence. We can see massive stars, but they are far enough away that their deaths are mostly spectacles, not disasters. Our cosmic address may be humble, but it may also be fortunate. The more we learn about the Orion Arm, the more Earth feels both insignificant and lucky. Insignificant because the arm is huge and the sun is ordinary. Lucky because ordinary may be exactly what life needed. An ordinary star, in a quiet region, inside a local spiral feature, far enough from chaos, stable long enough for oceans to persist, biology to evolve, and minds to ask where they are. This is why the scale of the Orion Arm is not only frightening, it is also strangely comforting. We are small, yes, but we are not in the worst place. We are lost inside a river of stars, but perhaps in one of the safer bends of that river. The sun is not famous in the galaxy. It is not one of the huge blue stars that shape nebulae. It is not a red supergiant waiting to explode. It is not a pulsar, not a black hole, not a brilliant giant visible across thousands of light years. It is modest, stable, long-lived. And that modesty may be the reason Earth exists as it does. The Orion Arm contains drama, but our local bubble is quiet enough to let a small yellow star keep shining steadily for billions of years. That is the hidden blessing of being lost. Sometimes being far from the center, far from the brightest regions, far from the violent places, is not emptiness. It is protection. The galaxy's most spectacular regions may be beautiful to photograph, but they may not be gentle places to live. Star-forming regions are filled with radiation, massive young stars, and future supernovae. The galactic center is dense, energetic, and dangerous. The spiral arms can contain bright clouds and young stars, but also explosive futures. Our neighborhood is less dramatic, and life may prefer less dramatic. This does not mean Earth is safe forever. No place in the universe is permanent. The sun will age, the solar system will change, nearby stars will pass, the galaxy will evolve, the Milky Way and Andromeda will eventually merge. Nothing lasts forever. But for now, inside the Orion Arm, our solar system has enjoyed a long season of relative calm, long enough for life to become aware of the arm around it. That awareness is astonishing. The Orion Arm contains countless worlds, most unseen, planets around red dwarfs, frozen bodies in distant systems, gas giants orbiting other suns, rogue objects drifting between stars, dead worlds, young worlds, maybe ocean worlds, maybe planets with atmospheres, maybe places where chemistry is moving toward life, maybe life already exists somewhere else in this same local arm. We do not know. The scale is too large, but the possibility changes how the arm feels. The solar system may feel lost, but perhaps it is not alone. Somewhere in the Orion Arm, another planet may orbit quietly around another star. It may have clouds, or ice, or oceans, or microbes beneath rock, or nothing at all. The arm is wide enough to contain almost every kind of world imagination can hold, and still, each one is separated by distance. If life exists elsewhere in the Orion Arm, it may be close in galactic terms and unreachable in human terms. That is the loneliness again. A galaxy can be full of possibilities, and yet every possibility can be hidden behind light years of separation. This is why understanding the Orion Arm changes the emotional scale of the search for life. We are not searching an empty universe from a central throne. We are one small system inside a local stellar branch, looking outward from our tiny bubble, trying to detect faint signals from worlds we may never visit. Every exoplanet discovery is a small victory against distance. Every map of nearby stars is a lantern in the dark. Every measurement of gas clouds, stellar motions, and nebulae helps us understand the structure we live inside. We are learning our neighborhood without walking through it. That is a strange kind of exploration. A blindfolded cartography of home. We map the Orion Arm using light, motion, radio waves, parallax, spectroscopy, and the patience of generations of astronomers. We cannot leave the arm to photograph it. We cannot send probes across it. We build the map from clues, measuring star after star, cloud after cloud, distance after distance. And slowly, the shape appears. Not perfect, not complete, but enough to tell us that our solar system is inside a local branch of the Milky Way, surrounded by structures far larger than anything humanity has ever crossed. The more accurate the map becomes, the smaller we feel, but also the more real our place becomes. That is the gift of astronomy. It takes away centrality, but gives us context. We are not the center of the Milky Way. We are not the center of the Orion Arm. We are not even at the center of the local stellar neighborhood in any meaningful cosmic sense, but we are somewhere, and that somewhere has a story. It is a region shaped by ancient explosions, star formation, drifting gas, dark clouds, magnetic fields, and the slow rotation of the galaxy. It contains the sun and its neighbors. It contains the bright stars of our myths and the invisible red dwarfs of our future surveys. It contains nurseries like Orion and quiet regions like ours. It contains us. Tonight, when you look up, the stars do not need to feel like distant decorations. They can feel like the visible pieces of the structure you live inside. Sirius is not just a bright point. Orion is not just a myth. The Milky Way is not just a pale band. They are clues. Clues that we are embedded in a vast galactic arm. Clues that the solar system is part of something larger. Clues that our sky is the inside view of a cosmic structure thousands of light years across. And somewhere within that structure, our tiny planet turns. A small world, in a small system, inside a local bubble, inside the Orion Arm, inside the Milky Way. We are lost only if we expected the universe to be human-sized. But if we accept the scale, maybe lost becomes something else. It becomes humble, it becomes placed, it becomes aware. The Orion Arm is too large for us to cross, too deep for us to see at once, and too ancient for us to fully understand. But it is not foreign. It is our galactic home. And the solar system, tiny as it is, belongs to it. If the Orion Arm is our galactic neighborhood, then the night sky is the inside wall of that neighborhood. Every bright star, every faint nebula, every dark cloud, every familiar constellation is part of the view from within. We do not see the Orion Arm as a clean spiral from above. We see it broken into pieces, a red star here, a blue star there, a glowing cloud in Orion, a cluster in Taurus, a faint band of the Milky Way crossing the sky. To the human eye, these objects feel separate: a star, a nebula, a cluster, a constellation. But when we begin to place them in 3 dimensions, something deeper appears. They are not random decorations. They are landmarks inside the same vast stellar environment. And the more we study those landmarks, the more our solar system feels like a tiny room inside an enormous cathedral of stars. The first landmark most people recognize is Orion itself. Orion is not only one of the most famous constellations on Earth, it is one of the easiest to find. 3 bright stars in a line form the belt. A red star marks one shoulder. A blue-white star marks one foot. Below the belt is a faint region that under dark skies looks like a small cloudy patch. That cloudy patch is the Orion Nebula. To the naked eye, it is gentle. Through telescopes, it becomes one of the most beautiful places in the sky. But the beauty is only the surface of the truth. The Orion Nebula is a stellar nursery, a region where new stars are being born inside a massive cloud of gas and dust. It is not an empty glow. It is a place of creation. Gravity is pulling material together. Young stars are igniting. Radiation is carving shapes into the surrounding cloud. Winds from newborn stars are sculpting cavities and glowing walls of gas. This is happening more than 1,000 light years away. And still, in the scale of the Orion Arm, it is nearby. That is the first unsettling thing. One of the closest great star-forming regions to Earth is already so far away that its light has been traveling for over a millennium. The photons we see tonight left that nebula when human history was in another age. The cloud we photograph now is not exactly the cloud as it is this moment. We are seeing it through time. And yet, this ancient light comes from our own broader neighborhood. The Orion Nebula is not some far edge of the universe. It is a local landmark, a nearby furnace of stellar birth inside the same galactic environment that contains the Sun. That single fact makes the Orion Arm feel immense. A place can be close to us in the Milky Way and still unreachable to any spacecraft we have ever built. The Orion Nebula is close enough to photograph in stunning detail, but far enough that a human journey there with current technology would outlast civilization itself. We can look at it, we can study its gas, we can measure its young stars, we can detect disks where planets may one day form. But we cannot go there. Not yet. Maybe not for a very long time. So the Orion Arm becomes a strange kind of home, visible, familiar, and impossible to cross. Inside the Orion Nebula, young stars are changing their environment. Some are massive, hot, and bright. They pour ultraviolet radiation into the gas around them, making it glow. They blow winds that push material away. They help shape the nebula into the forms we see in images: bright curtains, dark lanes, glowing cavities, and dense knots where future stars may still be forming. In those knots, dust hides the earliest stages of stellar birth. A cloud collapses, a protostar forms, a disk spins around it. Inside that disk, small grains may stick together, planetesimals may grow. Eventually, planets may form. Some may become rocky, some may become icy, some may become gas giants, some may be thrown away into darkness. The same process that created our solar system billions of years ago is still happening in places like Orion. This is why the nebula feels almost personal. It is not only a distant object, it is a reminder of our own origin. The Sun was born from a cloud of gas and dust too. Not from the Orion Nebula itself, but from the same kind of galactic process. A cold molecular cloud collapsed, a star formed, a disk became planets, Earth emerged from debris, oceans formed, chemistry grew complex, life began. When we look at the Orion Nebula, we are looking at something like the cosmic childhood of future solar systems. Somewhere inside that glowing cloud, worlds may be beginning. Not worlds we will ever walk on, not worlds with names yet, but future places still hidden in dust. That is one of the most beautiful parts of the Orion Arm. It contains not only old stars and familiar constellations, but also the raw material of future systems. It is a neighborhood where birth and age exist together. New suns are forming while older stars drift through quiet space. Some massive stars are rushing toward violent deaths, While low-mass red dwarfs may shine for trillions of years, the arm is not one age, it is many ages at once. Betelgeuse gives us the opposite side of the story. In Orion's shoulder, the red supergiant shines with a color that immediately separates it from the blue-white stars nearby. Betelgeuse is enormous, unstable, and near the end of its life. It is not being born, it is dying. Its outer atmosphere is swollen and restless. It has already changed in dramatic ways, dimming and brightening in patterns that remind us massive stars do not end quietly. From Earth, Betelgeuse is only a red point. Inside the Orion Arm, it is a dying giant, a star so large that if it replaced the Sun, the inner planets would be swallowed. A star that may one day explode as a supernova, briefly becoming one of the brightest objects in the sky. A star that will scatter elements back into space, enriching the local galaxy with material that may eventually become part of future stars and planets. So in the same constellation where we see the Orion Nebula giving birth to stars, we also see Betelgeuse approaching death. Birth and death in one patch of sky. Creation and destruction inside the same local arm. That is the rhythm of the galaxy. Stars form, stars burn, stars die. Their material returns to space. New stars form from that enriched material. The Orion Arm is part of that cycle, and the solar system is a product of that cycle. Every atom heavier than hydrogen and helium inside Earth had to be made in earlier generations of stars. The carbon in living things, the oxygen in water, the iron in blood, the silicon in rocks, the calcium in bones, all of it comes from a galaxy that had already lived and died before us. The Orion Arm, like every part of the Milky Way, is built from recycled starlight. We are not outside that story. We are made from it. Rigel gives another kind of scale. It shines blue-white, brilliant and distant, one of the brightest stars in the night sky. To our eyes, it is part of the same Orion pattern. But in physical reality, Rigel is a massive luminous star far from the Sun, separated by hundreds of light years. It only looks near Betelgeuse because the sky flattens depth into a two-dimensional pattern. This is one of the most important illusions to break. Constellations are not real structures in space. They are projections. If you could fly far away from the solar system and look at Orion from another angle, the hunter would disappear. The belt would no longer line up. The shoulder and foot would separate into different depths. The familiar shape would dissolve, but the stars themselves would remain part of the galactic environment. The myth disappears. The arm remains. This does not make the myth me, it makes the myth human. We create patterns because the sky is too vast to hold without stories. The stars are scattered through depth, but our minds connect them into figures. Orion, Taurus, Gemini, Canis Major, and other constellations become our emotional map of a physical structure we cannot see whole. The Orion Arm is the deeper map beneath the stories. Sirius is another landmark. It is the brightest star in Earth's night sky, shining in Canis Major. Unlike many bright stars that appear brilliant because they are extremely luminous and far away, Sirius is bright partly because it is relatively close. Its light reaches us after only a few years of travel. In the scale of the Orion Arm, Sirius is almost next door. And yet, even Sirius is unreachable to us today. That is the scale problem again. The closest bright star in the sky is still so far away that a spacecraft would take tens of thousands of years to reach it with present technology. Sirius feels like a neighbor, but only to light. To machines, it is a civilization-long journey. To humans, it is beyond any practical voyage we can currently imagine. The Orion Arm is filled with such contradictions. Nearby stars are far, famous nebulae are unreachable, a local arm is enormous, a quiet neighborhood contains violent stellar deaths, a small solar system contains everything we know. The Pleiades add another kind of beauty. This young star cluster appears as a small group of blue stars in the night sky. Many cultures noticed it, named it, told stories about it, and used its appearance to mark seasons. To the eye, it is delicate, a tiny cluster of light. Through telescopes, it becomes a family of hot young stars surrounded by faint reflection nebulosity. The Pleiades are young compared with the Sun. Their bright blue stars burn intensely and will not live nearly as long as stars like ours. The cluster itself will slowly disperse over time as gravitational interactions pull its members apart. What looks like a small jewel in the sky is a temporary gathering of stars moving through the galaxy together for now, but not forever. Again, the sky shows us something temporary that feels permanent. The Pleiades have been seen by humans for thousands of years, but in galactic time, they are young and changing. Their stars will drift, the cluster will loosen, the pattern will not remain forever. Nothing in the Orion Arm is truly fixed. Even the beautiful things are passing through time. Then there are the dark clouds. These are harder to appreciate because they appear as absence. Under dark skies, some regions of the Milky Way look like dark gaps, as if stars are missing. But many of those gaps are not empty. They are clouds of dust blocking the light behind them. They are cold, dense, and hidden. Some may eventually form stars. Others may remain dark for long ages. A dark cloud is a future possibility. It is matter waiting. To the human eye, it looks like nothing. To astronomy, it is substance. This is one of the great lessons of the Orion Arm. Darkness is not always emptiness. Sometimes darkness is dust. Sometimes it is gas. Sometimes it is the birthplace of stars before they ignite. Sometimes the most important structures are the ones that hide what lies behind them. The Milky Way's dark lanes are not holes in the galaxy. They are part of the galaxy. They are the cold material from which future stars may form. They give the spiral arms texture and depth. They shape what we can see and what remains hidden. Our solar system moves through this larger environment, though not through the densest clouds right now. The Sun is inside a relatively low-density region, part of a local cavity shaped by ancient stellar activity. That quiet environment is one reason our immediate neighborhood feels empty. But beyond our local bubble, the Orion Arm contains richer regions of gas and star formation. We live in a calm pocket inside a larger active structure. That calm matters. If Earth were much closer to massive star-forming regions, the environment might be harsher. More nearby supernovae, more radiation, more gravitational disturbances, more dangerous stellar neighbors. Instead, the Sun lives in a quieter region of the local arm, far from the Milky Way's center and far from the most intense stellar nurseries. This does not make Earth protected forever, but it does make our current situation fortunate. We are close enough to see cosmic drama, far enough to survive it. Betelgeuse may one day explode, but it is too far away to seriously harm Earth. The Orion Nebula is close enough to study, but far enough that its radiation does not affect us. The Pleiades are beautiful, but nearby stars pass through the galactic disk, but not usually close enough to disrupt the inner solar system. The Orion Arm gives us spectacle without immediate destruction. That balance is part of why the solar system feels like a fragile island in a vast but mostly peaceful sea. Still, The arm is not empty of danger. Over millions of years, nearby stellar passages can disturb the outer Oort cloud. Supernovae can affect local interstellar conditions if they occur close enough. Molecular clouds can change the environment around the heliosphere. The galaxy is not a static, safe container. It is an evolving ecosystem of stars. But on the timescale of human history, the sky feels quiet. That quietness can be misleading because the Orion Arm is alive on timescales we barely notice. If you could speed up time by millions of years, the still sky would begin to move. Stars would drift. Constellations would bend and dissolve. The Orion Nebula would change shape as young stars carved it apart. The Pleiades would spread. Betelgeuse would vanish after its supernova. Other massive stars would explode. New stars would emerge from clouds. The sun would continue its long orbit around the galaxy. Our familiar sky would become unfamiliar. The map of home would rewrite itself. This makes our current view feel precious. We are seeing one moment in the life of the Orion Arm. A moment when Orion has the shape we know. A moment when Betelgeuse still shines red. A moment when the Orion Nebula glows in the sword. A moment when the Pleiades remain a tight cluster. A moment when the sun lives inside a calm bubble. A moment when Earth has intelligent life capable of noticing. The Arm existed before us and will continue after us, but this exact sky belongs to our time. That is why scale and time are connected. The Orion Arm is not only large in space, it is large in history. Its stars have different ages, different futures, different motions. Some will outlive the sun. Some will die before humanity reaches another star. Some may already be dead, their final light still traveling. Some are not yet born, still hidden inside cold gas. When we look around the Orion Arm, we are not seeing one present moment. We are seeing many pasts. Sirius as it was years ago. Betelgeuse as it was centuries ago. The Orion Nebula as it was over 1,000 years ago. Farther stars as they were even earlier. The Arm is not only a structure of distance, it is a structure of time. Every object appears to us after light has crossed the gap. The farther the object, the older the view. We live inside a local arm, but even our local view is delayed. The sky is a memory field. The present of the Orion Arm is hidden from us by the time light takes to travel. This makes our solar system feel even more isolated. We are not only separated by space, we are separated by time. If a star is 1,000 light years away, we see it as it was 1,000 years ago. If something changes there tonight, Earth will not know for a millennium. The Orion Arm may contain events happening now that no human will see for generations. A star may be exploding. A cloud may be collapsing. A new system may be forming. But its light has not reached us yet. The Arm is around us, but not fully accessible. Not in space, not in time. This is one reason astronomy feels so haunting. We study our home through delayed messages. We map the Orion Arm from echoes of light. And yet, with enough patience, those echoes form a picture. Parallax measurements reveal distances to stars. Spectroscopy reveals composition and motion. Radio astronomy maps hydrogen gas and molecular clouds. Infrared telescopes peer through dust. Space missions measure the positions of billions of stars. Slowly, the three-dimensional structure of our local arm becomes clearer. We are no longer simply drawing myths on the sky. We are building a real map, a map of the stellar river around us. And in that map, the sun is not central. It is one point among many. This can feel humbling, but also strangely peaceful. The sun does not need to be central to be important to us. Earth does not need to be large to be precious. The solar system does not need to dominate the Orion Arm to matter. Meaning is not the same as size. The Orion Nebula is larger than our world. Betelgeuse is larger than our orbit. The Arm is larger than our imagination. But Earth is the place where we are aware of them. That awareness matters. A small world can understand a large structure. A tiny planet inside the Orion Arm can map the arm that contains it. There is beauty in that. The solar system may feel lost inside the Orion Arm, but perhaps it is not lost in the sense of being meaningless. It is lost in the sense that a candle is lost in a cathedral, small, surrounded by vastness, but still giving light. Humanity is that candle. Our instruments extend our sight. Our equations extend our reach. Our stories help us hold the scale. We cannot travel across the Orion Arm, but we can begin to understand it. That understanding changes the night sky. Orion becomes more than a constellation. It becomes a direction into a star-forming complex, a dying red supergiant, young stars, dust, gas, and future systems. The Pleiades become more than a pretty cluster. They become a young family of stars moving through the local galaxy. Sirius becomes more than the brightest star. It becomes a nearby marker in our stellar neighborhood. The Milky Way becomes more than a pale band. It becomes the inside view of our galaxy's disk. And the darkness between stars becomes more than emptiness. It becomes distance, matter, time, and possibility. The true scale of the Orion Arm is not only measured in light years, it is measured in how much our perspective changes when we realize where we are. The familiar sky becomes three-dimensional. The beautiful objects become unreachable worlds. The solar system becomes a tiny bubble of warmth inside a structure too large to cross. And still, it is home. Not home like Earth, not home like the solar system, but home in the galactic sense, a region of the Milky Way that holds the sun, the nearby stars, the nebulae of Orion, the dust clouds, the young clusters, the ancient red dwarfs, and the long quiet distances between them. The Orion Arm is not somewhere we look at from far away. It is the room we are inside, a room so vast that its walls are made of stars, and somewhere in that room, one small yellow star carries one small blue planet. On that planet, life has opened its eyes, and from the middle of the arm, it has begun to look around. If humanity ever tried to cross the Orion Arm, the journey would reveal the true cruelty of galactic scale. Not the scale of the whole Milky Way, not the scale of intergalactic space, not the distance to Andromeda, only the scale of our own local branch, only the neighborhood, and even that would be almost impossible. The solar system feels large because we live inside it. The distance from Earth to Mars can already become a mission of months. Jupiter is so far that robotic spacecraft need years to arrive. Saturn feels like the deep outer realm of the planets. Uranus and Neptune are so distant that they seem almost detached from the world of warmth and sunlight we know. Pluto, once the edge of the familiar solar system in the public imagination, is only the beginning of a much larger darkness, and yet all of that is still local. The entire planetary system is only the first room around the Sun. Beyond the planets, beyond the Kuiper Belt, beyond the long orbits of comets, there is interstellar space. Voyager 1 entered that region after decades of travel, and even now it is still close to the Sun in the larger sense. It has crossed the boundary of the solar wind, but it has not crossed the solar system in the way people often imagine. It has not reached another star. It has not even come close. Voyager is humanity's farthest messenger, and compared with the Orion Arm, it has barely moved. That is the first humbling truth of Part 4. We have not truly begun to explore our galactic neighborhood. We have explored one star system. One, the Sun and its planets, a few moons, a few asteroids, a few comets, a tiny handful of places inside a bubble of gravity and light. Everything beyond that remains untouched by human machines. The nearest star is more than 4 light-years away. That is the first major step into the Orion Arm, and even that step is almost beyond us. With current spacecraft speeds, reaching the nearest star would take tens of thousands of years. The distance is not just large, it is hostile to every human plan we know how to make. Now imagine trying to cross not 4 light-years, but hundreds, then thousands. The Orion Arm contains regions more than 1,000 light-years away that still feel familiar because we see them in our sky. The Orion Nebula, one of the nearest great star-forming regions, is so far away that its light began traveling long before the modern world existed. Betelgeuse sends us light from centuries in the past. Rigel, the belt stars of Orion, clusters, clouds, and distant associations all sit at depths that make the night sky look deceptively flat. To cross from the Sun to those places would not be like sailing across an ocean. It would be like sailing across time. If a spacecraft left Earth for the Orion Nebula, using technology close to what we have today, the journey would not be a mission. It would be a civilization-long project beyond any normal meaning of civilization. Languages would change, nations would vanish, cities would be rebuilt or forgotten. The people who launched it would become ancient history long before the spacecraft arrived. Even with future technology, even with ships much faster than anything we have built, the Orion Arm remains overwhelming. A ship traveling at 1% the speed of light would still need more than 100,000 years to cross a distance of 1,000 light-years. At 10% the speed of light, a speed far beyond our current capability for large human vessels, it would still take 10,000 years to cross that same distance. 10,000 years. That is longer than recorded human civilization. And that is only to one nearby famous nebula inside our own galactic neighborhood. This is why the Orion Arm makes the solar system feel lost. It is not because the arm is dark or empty. It is because even the closest meaningful landmarks are separated from us by timescales that dwarf human history. We are surrounded by light from places we cannot reach. The stars are visible, but visibility is not nearness. The Orion Nebula looks like a soft glow in the sky, but it is not a destination for us in any practical sense. Betelgeuse looks like a red point, but it is hundreds of light-years away. The Pleiades look like a tiny cluster, but they are still impossibly far for our spacecraft. The Milky Way appears as a pale band, but it is the light of countless stars layered through the disk of the galaxy. The sky feels close because light is generous. Travel is not. Light crosses the Orion Arm easily by our standards, though even light needs thousands of years to move through it. But human bodies, machines, fuel, food, radiation shielding, and life support systems cannot move like light. We are slow, fragile, and heavy. We require warmth, oxygen, water, pressure, gravity, food, medicine, and meaning. A photon can cross 1,000 light-years without caring. A human cannot. That is why our real exploration of the Orion Arm may begin not with ships, but with observation. For a long time, perhaps for centuries, our main way of traveling through the Orion Arm will be with telescopes. We will map it with light. We will measure stars with parallax. We will listen to radio waves from hydrogen gas. We will use infrared instruments to see through dust. We will analyze starlight to learn composition, temperature, age, and motion. We will search for planets by watching stars dim, wobble, or shift. This is a strange kind of exploration. No footprints, no landing sites, no ships crossing the distance, only information arriving after years, centuries, or millennia of travel. But information matters. Every measurement turns the darkness around us into a map. The sun is not alone in a vague sea of stars. It belongs to a structure. Nearby red dwarfs, bright stars, stellar nurseries, dust clouds, and old remnants all have positions. They form a three-dimensional pattern. The more precisely we measure them, the more the Orion Arm becomes real to us, not as a picture from above, but as a structure built from distances. This is one of the great achievements of modern astronomy. From inside the Milky Way, buried in the disk, unable to see the galaxy from the outside, humans have still learned to map their surroundings. We have turned the sky from mythology into geography. The constellations remain beautiful, but behind them is something deeper, the real placement of stars in space. And once we map the stars, we understand how small our island is. The nearest stars form only the first ring around us. Beyond them are more stars. Beyond those, still more. The local bubble gives way to denser regions. The arm stretches outward in curves and branches. Gas clouds appear. Star-forming regions glow. Clusters drift. Dust lanes hide objects behind them. The map becomes crowded, layered, and vast. The solar system becomes almost invisible. But there is a second way to feel the scale. Time. If you could watch the sun move through the Orion Arm across millions of years, you would see that our position is temporary. The sun is orbiting the center of the Milky Way. It is not fixed inside the arm like a nail in wood. It travels through the galactic disk, along with nearby stars and gas. It takes roughly hundreds of millions of years to complete one orbit around the galaxy. That orbit is sometimes called a galactic year. The sun has lived for only a few dozen galactic years. Earth's entire history has unfolded during a small number of these vast loops around the Milky Way. Continents formed and broke apart. Oceans changed. Life evolved from microbes to complex organisms. Dinosaurs rose and vanished. Mammals spread. Humans appeared. Cities were built. Telescopes were invented. All while the sun continued its slow path through the galaxy. From a human view, the night sky is stable. From a galactic view, the solar system is moving through a changing stellar environment. The Orion Arm is not simply a place where we are. It is a place we are passing through, or moving with, depending on the scale and frame. Our local surroundings change over deep time. Nearby stars shift. The sun encounters different interstellar clouds. The outer Oort cloud may feel the tug of passing stars. The constellations gradually distort. The sky we know is only a temporary arrangement. In 100,000 years, the constellations will not look exactly like they do today. In 1,000,000 years, they will be deeply changed. In 10 million years, the familiar night sky will be almost unrecognizable. Orion as we know it will not remain Orion. Betelgeuse may be gone. Other stars will have moved. The patterns drawn by ancient humans will dissolve into new arrangements, and yet the Orion Arm will still surround the sun's descendants if Earth still has watchers then. As a broader galactic environment, This is the difference between human patterns and galactic structures. Constellations are temporary from the start, drawn from our angle. Spiral arms are larger patterns, also changing, but on deeper timescales. Everything moves. The solar system feels lost not only in space, but in time. We live in one brief moment of a moving arm, beneath one temporary sky, around one star halfway through its life. That thought can feel lonely, but it can also feel strangely peaceful. Nothing in the universe is required to be permanent for it to be beautiful. A wave is not permanent. A cloud is not permanent. A human life is not permanent. A constellation is not permanent. Even a star is not permanent. But each exists long enough to matter in its own way. The Orion Arm is filled with such temporary things. Young stars that will burn intensely and die quickly. Red dwarfs that will live longer than the current age of the universe. Nebulae that glow for a time, then disperse. Clusters that form together, then drift apart. Supernova remnants that expand, fade, and mix into the interstellar medium. Molecular clouds that collapse into new stars or are torn apart by radiation. The arm is a cycle, not a static structure. And somewhere in that cycle, the sun formed from older material. This brings us to another reason the Orion Arm matters. It is not only the place where we live, it is part of the story of what we are made of. The solar system formed about 4.6 billion years ago from a cloud of gas and dust enriched by earlier generations of stars. Those stars lived and died before the sun existed. Some may have exploded as some may have shed their outer layers into space. Their material mixed into the interstellar medium, becoming part of the cloud that eventually collapsed to form the sun and planets. This means our home is not separate from the arm around it. Earth is made of galactic material. Our bodies are made of elements processed through stars, the oxygen in water, the carbon in living cells, the nitrogen in air, the iron in blood, the calcium in bones. All of it belongs to the long chemical history of the Milky Way. When we look at the Orion Arm, we are not only looking at our surroundings, we are looking at the kind of environment that made us possible. The arm contains gas clouds where future stars may form. Some of those future stars may have planets. Some of those planets may be rocky. Some may have water. Some may become sterile. Some may become living worlds if the universe is generous. The Orion Arm may contain the future as well as the past. Worlds that do not yet exist. Stars that have not yet ignited. Planets that are still dust. Possibilities waiting inside cold molecular clouds. That is part of the scale too. The arm is not only wide in distance, it is wide in potential. Every cloud may become many stars. Every star may host planets. Every planet may have moons, atmospheres, oceans, or hidden chemistry. Some may become nothing more than frozen rock. Others may become strange and active. A few, perhaps, may become places where life begins. We cannot know but the possibility makes the Orion Arm feel less empty. And yet, the same distance that makes it full of possibility also makes it unreachable. This is the great paradox of our galactic neighborhood. There may be countless worlds inside the Orion Arm, but each is separated from us by an ocean of time. Exoplanet discoveries have already shown us that planets are common. Stars often have worlds. Some are close to their stars. Some are far away. Some are gas giants. Some are rocky. Some may orbit in regions where liquid water is possible. Some may be completely unlike anything in our solar system. So within the Orion Arm, there may be billions of planets, maybe more. But for now, They are points inferred through starlight. We know they exist because their stars dim, wobble, or reveal subtle clues. We can sometimes estimate their sizes, masses, or atmospheres, but we cannot see their surfaces directly in detail. We cannot walk there. We cannot hear their winds. We cannot know easily whether they have oceans or continents or life. The Orion Arm may be full of worlds that will remain forever distant. That is another way the solar system feels lost. It is not alone in a poor universe. It is isolated in a rich one. There is something more haunting about that. Loneliness in emptiness is simple. Loneliness among countless unreachable worlds is deeper. The sun may be surrounded by stars with planets, but the distances keep each system sealed away. Every planetary system is like an island with an ocean between it and the next. Light crosses the ocean. Gravity reaches across it. But life, bodies, machines, and civilizations are trapped by the scale. The Orion Arm may be a galactic archipelago. Billions of islands, almost none connected. This is why the search for signals matters. If travel is too slow, communication may be the first bridge between stars. Radio waves, laser signals, atmospheric signatures, artificial light, or some technology we have not imagined could become clues that we are not alone. But even communication is limited by light speed delay. A message to a star 1,000 light years away takes 1,000 years to arrive. A reply takes another 1,000. Conversation across the Orion Arm becomes history, not dialogue. If civilizations exist far away in the same arm, they may rise and fall between messages. They may hear us long after we are different. We may detect a signal from them long after they changed or disappeared. The scale turns communication into archaeology. We would not be speaking with the present. We would be receiving. That makes the Orion Arm feel even more vast. It is not only hard to travel through, it is hard to share time across. A civilization 1,000 light years away is not only distant in space, it is distant in history. Its light, its signals, its evidence all reach us late. The galaxy does not give us simultaneity, it gives us echoes, and yet, those echoes may be enough to change everything. A single confirmed signal from another civilization inside the Orion Arm would transform our understanding of home. It would mean the local arm is not only a structure of stars and clouds, but a place where awareness has appeared more than once. It would make our galactic neighborhood feel less silent, even if we could never meet. But until then, we listen, we watch. The silence of the Orion Arm is not proof that we are alone. It may only be proof that distance is enormous. A civilization could exist nearby in galactic terms and still be invisible to us. Its signals may be too weak. Its technology may be different. Its lifetime may not overlap with ours. It may choose silence. It may exist under oceans or inside ice, never building radio transmitters. It may be microbial, beautiful, and completely unaware of the stars. The Orion Arm could be full of life and still look quiet. Or it could be truly empty of intelligence, except for us. Both possibilities are haunting. If we are not alone, then distance keeps us separated. If we are alone, then this tiny solar system carries an almost unbearable significance. A single blue world inside a vast arm of stars. The only place where the Orion Arm has become conscious of itself. We do not know which truth is real. But the scale makes both feel powerful. Perhaps that is why the Orion Arm is such a strong topic for sleep and reflection. It is not dramatic like a black hole or a supernova. It is not a single object that explodes or devours. It is a place, a structure, a surrounding vastness. It is the cosmic neighborhood we rarely think about, because it is too large to feel. But once we do think about it, the familiar sky becomes different. The stars no longer feel like lights above us. They feel like coordinates inside a huge structure. The Milky Way no longer feels like a distant band. It feels like the wall of our galactic home. The sun no longer feels central. It feels local. Protected, small, the solar system becomes not the whole stage, but a tiny warm island inside a much larger ocean. And Earth becomes even more precious. Because inside all this scale, Earth is the only place we know where life has looked back at the galaxy and asked what it is. This does not make Earth important by size. It makes Earth important by awareness. The Orion Arm may contain massive stars, beautiful nebulae, ancient clusters, dark clouds, and billions of worlds. But as far as we know, only here, on one small planet around one ordinary star, has the arm begun to understand itself. That idea is quiet but enormous. The universe does not need us to exist. The Orion Arm would continue without humanity. Stars would still form. Betelgeuse would still die. The Orion Nebula would still glow. The sun would still orbit the Milky Way until its own future changed. But with us, for this moment, the arm is seen, measured, named, wondered at. That may be our role. Not rulers of the galaxy, not conquerors of the stars, but witnesses inside the structure that made us. Part 4 brings us to that emotional center. The true scale of the Orion Arm is not only that it is thousands of light years wide, it is that it contains more distance, time, matter, history, and possibility than the human mind can comfortably hold. It is large enough to make the solar system vanish, but meaningful enough to make Earth feel rare. We are tiny, but we are not nothing. We are lost, but we are not disconnected. We are small inside the Orion Arm, but made from the same galactic material. We cannot cross it, but we can map it. We cannot visit its nebulae, but we can see them. We cannot know all its worlds, but we can search for them. We cannot hear its full story, but we can listen to the light arriving from every direction. And tonight, as Earth turns beneath the stars, the Orion Arm surrounds us completely. Above you, below you, behind the sun, beyond the planets, beyond the nearest, a vast local branch of the Milky Way, carrying our solar system through a galaxy too large to see from the outside. We are not at the center of it. We are not at the edge of it. We are simply inside it. A small star, a small planet, a small species, looking out from a tiny warm island into a river of stars. The true scale of the Orion Arm leaves us with one final feeling. Not fear exactly, not sadness, something quieter. The feeling of being placed inside a vastness that does not need us, and yet somehow made us possible. By now, the solar system no longer feels like the center of anything. The sun is not the heart of the Milky Way. Earth is not a giant world among the stars. Our planets are not spread across a grand cosmic empire. Even the farthest objects bound to the sun are only a tiny bubble inside a local branch of the galaxy. A small warm island, a single point of order, inside a river of stars thousands of light years long. And that is only the Orion Arm. Not the whole Milky Way, not the entire local group, not the universe, only our neighborhood. That is what makes the scale so hard to accept. The Orion Arm is close to us in galactic terms, but it is already too large for human travel, too large for human time, too large for any ordinary sense of home. It contains stars whose light takes years, centuries, and thousands of years to reach us. It contains nebulae where new suns are forming. It contains dying giants, young clusters, dark clouds, invisible red dwarfs, drifting gas, and probably billions of planets. And still, from Earth, most of it looks like points of light. The sky hides scale. It makes the Orion Arm beautiful before it makes it understandable. We see Orion rising in winter. We see Sirius shining. We see the Pleiades glittering. We see the faint band of the Milky Way in dark places. We look at the night, and the mind turns those lights into patterns, stories, hunters, animals, gods, seasons, and memory. But behind the stories is depth. Behind the depth is distance. Behind the distance is time. And inside all of it, the solar system is almost impossibly small. This is why our home feels lost inside the Orion Arm. Not lost because it has no location, but lost because its location is swallowed by the scale around it. A world can have an address and still feel tiny. A ship can know its coordinates and still be surrounded by an ocean too large to cross. That is Earth. A blue world with a known position, but surrounded by a galactic ocean. We often speak of the solar system as if it is a complete cosmic place. The sun and the planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, Jupiter and Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, the Kuiper belt, Pluto, the distant comets, the heliosphere, the boundary where the solar wind gives way to interstellar space. This feels like a kingdom, but the Orion Arm turns it into a room, a small room around one star. Beyond that room begins the rest of the house, and the house is larger than we can travel through. Even our most distant spacecraft have barely moved beyond the influence of the Sun. Voyager 1, the farthest human-made object, is a miracle of engineering and patience. It has been traveling for decades, sending faint signals across billions of kilometers. It has crossed into interstellar space. It has shown us that human machines can survive beyond the planets. And yet, against the Orion Arm, Voyager is still almost at the doorstep. It has not reached another star. It has not crossed the local neighborhood. It has not entered the great star-forming regions we see in Orion. It has only begun the first step into the darkness between suns. That is the difference between achievement and scale. Voyager is one of humanity's greatest achievements, and the Orion Arm makes it look motionless. There is no contradiction there. It simply means the universe is larger than our triumphs. We can do something extraordinary and still remain small. We can send a machine into interstellar space and still be nowhere near crossing the local arm. We can map the galaxy and still live inside one tiny point of it. This does not make the achievement meaningless. It makes it more beautiful. Because small things reaching into vast places are often more moving than powerful things moving easily. A signal from Voyager is precious because it is weak. A telescope image of the Orion Nebula is precious because we cannot go there. A map of the Orion Arm is precious because we built it from inside the very structure we are trying to understand. Humanity has never seen the Milky Way from outside. We have never looked down on the Orion Arm from above. We cannot step away from the galaxy and photograph our place. And yet, somehow, from one small planet, we have begun to map it. That may be one of the greatest acts of imagination in science. We measure the positions of stars. We study their motions. We use parallax, light, color, radio waves, infrared surveys, and patient mathematics. We look through dust. We infer shape from scattered evidence. We build a three-dimensional map from countless tiny clues. Slowly, the arm appears, not as a perfect image, not as something complete, but as a real structure around us, a local branch of the Milky Way. Our branch, our stellar river. And once we know it is there, the night sky can never feel the same. The stars above are not just lights, they are markers of depth. Some are near in the local neighborhood, some are far, across hundreds or thousands of light years. Some are giants visible because they are powerful. Others are small and invisible without instruments, even if they are much closer. Some may already have changed since the light we see left them. Some may be forming planets. Some may be approaching their deaths. The Orion Arm is not a flat sky. It is a history around us, a moving history, a breathing history, a history made of gas collapsing, stars igniting, stars aging, stars exploding, dust drifting, clusters dispersing, and new systems forming from the remains of old ones. Our solar system is part of that history. The sun did not appear from nowhere. Earth did not form outside the galaxy's story. The material that became our world came from older stars, older clouds, older explosions, older cycles of creation and destruction. Before Earth had oceans, the galaxy had already been enriching itself for billions of years. Before life began, the elements needed for life had already been forged and scattered by stars. This means the Orion Arm is not only our location, it is part of our ancestry. We are made of galactic material, the calcium in bones, the iron in blood, the oxygen in water, the carbon in every living cell. None of it is separate from the Milky Way. It all belongs to the long chemical evolution of the galaxy. The solar system may feel lost in the Orion Arm, but it is also a child of the galaxy that holds it. Smallness and belonging arrive together. That is the emotional center of this journey. We are tiny, but we are not foreign. We are almost invisible inside the Orion Arm. But we are made from the same cosmic process that fills it. When you look up at Orion, you are not looking at something separate from Earth. You are looking at the same galaxy that made Earth possible. The stars are not decorations above our world. They are relatives in a deeper physical sense, formed from the same galactic cycle of matter and gravity. The Orion Nebula shows us birth. Betelgeuse shows us death. The Pleiades show us youth. Sirius shows us nearness. The dark clouds show us hidden material. The Milky Way band shows us the disk we live inside. And the solar system sits among all of this as one quiet place where matter became aware of the structure around it. That awareness may be rare. We do not know. There may be other worlds inside the Orion Arm where life exists. There may be oceans under alien skies, bacteria beneath rocks, organisms under ice, or even civilizations looking up from planets around stars we have not yet studied closely. The Arm may be full of hidden life, separated by distances too large for us to cross. Or Earth may be alone, at least in this part of the galaxy. At least for now. Both possibilities are overwhelming. If we are not alone, then the Orion Arm is more alive than we know, and somewhere in its vastness another world may be asking similar questions. But distance may keep us apart so completely that we never meet, never speak, never know each other, except perhaps as faint signals crossing centuries. If we are alone, then Earth carries something unbelievably precious. A small planet inside a quiet part of the Orion Arm has produced life, mind, memory, language, science, and the ability to understand stars. In that case, the solar system is not important because it is large. It is important because it may be one of the few places where the galaxy has opened its eyes. Either way, the responsibility is profound, because if awareness is rare, then protecting it matters. The scale of the Orion Arm can make human life feel small, but it can also make it feel more valuable. A candle matters more in a vast dark hall than in a room already filled with light. If Earth is the only known living world inside our reach, then this tiny blue planet becomes more precious, not less. The Orion Arm does not reduce Earth, it frames it. It shows us how much darkness surrounds our warmth. It shows us how rare a breathable atmosphere is compared with the vacuum between stars. It shows us how precious oceans are compared with cold molecular clouds. It shows us how fragile life is compared with the giant machinery of the galaxy. And it shows us that home is not large because it dominates the universe. Home is large because it is where meaning exists for us. Earth is a tiny planet, but it contains every human story. The Orion Arm is enormous, but we know it only because minds on Earth learn to ask. That contrast is beautiful. The galaxy has size, Earth has experience. The Orion Arm has millions upon millions of stars. Earth has memory. The arm contains nebulae, dust, clusters, stellar nurseries, red giants, white dwarfs, and hidden worlds. Earth contains the only voices we know that can name them. This is not arrogance. It is humility with wonder. We do not need to pretend we are central to the galaxy. We are not. We do not need to pretend the Orion Arm was made for us. It was not. We do not need to imagine that the universe notices us. It probably does not. But we can notice it. And that is extraordinary. A tiny planet inside a local spiral arm has built instruments that measure stars thousands of light years away. It has learned that the sun is one star among billions. It has learned that its own sky is only the inside view of a vast galactic structure. It has learned that the solar system is not alone in space, but embedded in a deep and ancient stellar environment. The Orion Arm becomes a mirror. When we look at it, we see the universe's scale, but we also see the strange power of human curiosity. We cannot cross it, but we can imagine it. We cannot see it from outside, but we can map it from within. We cannot visit its distant nebulae, but we can receive their ancient light. We cannot know every world it contains, but we can search. This is what humans do best. We stand in small places and think about large ones. We live short lives and study ancient light. We are bound to Earth, and yet our minds move through the galaxy. The Orion Arm reminds us that exploration does not always begin with motion. Sometimes it begins with understanding. Before we ever cross the stars, we must learn where we are. Before we imagine leaving the solar system, we must understand the structure that contains it. Before we dream of the galaxy, we must accept the scale of our own local arm. And that scale is almost unbearable. The nearest star is already too far for us. The Orion Nebula is close in galactic terms and unreachable in practical terms. The arm itself stretches far beyond the distances our minds were built to handle. The Milky Way is larger still. The universe beyond makes even the galaxy seem small. And yet tonight, we do not need to leave Earth to feel the beginning of that vastness. We only need to look up. If Orion is visible, its stars are not just a pattern. They are a doorway into depth. Betelgeuse is not just red, it is a dying giant. The Orion Nebula is not just a blur, it is a star nursery. The belt stars are not just aligned points, they are distant suns separated by immense space. Sirius is not just bright, it is one of our nearby stellar landmarks. The sky becomes a map once you know what you are seeing. And the map says this: we are inside something huge, not looking at it from far away, inside it. The Orion Arm is above you, below you, around the sun, beyond the planets, behind the night, hidden in the Milky Way's glow. There is no direction you can point that escapes the larger galactic context of our home. Even when the sky looks empty, the structure is there. Even when clouds cover the stars, the arm surrounds Earth. Even in daylight, when the sun hides the galaxy from your eyes, the sun itself is carrying you through that galaxy. You are moving inside the Orion Arm right now. Earth is turning. The moon is orbiting Earth. Earth is orbiting the sun. The sun is moving around the center of the Milky Way. And the solar system is traveling through the local galactic environment inside a smaller spiral feature that holds our entire known history. Nothing is still. Even home is moving. This is another reason the solar system feels lost. We are not only small inside the arm, we are also in motion through it. The sun does not sit frozen in the galaxy. It travels. The stars around us travel too. The whole sky is a temporary arrangement created by motion, distance, and our present location. In the far future, the night sky will change. Orion will not look the same. Betelgeuse may be gone. The Pleiades will drift. Nearby stars will shift. New stars will be born. Old stars will die. The arm will continue evolving. Future life on Earth, if it exists, will inherit a different sky. And one day, the sun itself will change so deeply that Earth's story will enter a new chapter. Our time under this sky is not permanent. It is a moment. A beautiful moment. A moment when Earth is alive. A moment when Orion still rises. A moment when the solar system is stable. A moment when humans can look outward and understand enough to feel small. That feeling of smallness is not something to run from. It can be peaceful, because it places our worries inside a larger night. It reminds us that the universe is not built around our urgency. Stars take millions or billions of years to change. Spiral arms evolve across cosmic time. Light crosses nebulae, while civilizations rise and fall. The galaxy moves at a rhythm far slower and deeper than human fear. There is comfort in that. Not because our lives do not matter, but because they happen inside something immense, ancient, and patient. The Orion Arm does not hurry. It does not notice our days. It does not change because of our concerns. It simply holds the stars, the dust, the gas, the dark clouds, and the small yellow sun that carries us. And that can make the night feel softer. We are not responsible for the scale of the galaxy. We are only responsible for what we do with the awareness we have. To look up, to learn, to protect the only living world we know. To remember that our home is both tiny and precious. To understand that being lost in scale does not mean being lost in meaning, because meaning is not measured in light years. If it were, Earth would be almost nothing. But meaning is measured in experience, memory, love, consciousness, and the ability to wonder. By that measure, this tiny world matters deeply. The Orion Arm may contain billions of planets, but Earth is the one from which this story is being told. The sun may be one of countless stars, but it is the star that made our sky blue. The solar system may be a tiny island, but it is the island that grew forests, oceans, mines, and the first maps of its own galaxy. We are lost inside the Orion Arm only when we imagine size as the only kind of importance. But size is not everything. A seed is small compared with a forest. A spark is small compared with a night. A thought is small compared with a galaxy. And still, each can change what comes after. Perhaps one day, humanity will travel farther. Perhaps our machines will reach nearby stars. Perhaps future generations will build vessels capable of crossing the local neighborhood. Perhaps one day, a probe from Earth will drift near the Orion Nebula, or orbit a planet around another star, or send back images from a place that today is only a point of light. But even if that day never comes, we have already begun the first journey, the journey of understanding where we are. And that journey matters. The solar system is inside the Orion Arm. The Orion Arm is inside the Milky Way. And Earth, impossibly small, has learnt this. Tonight, as you drift to sleep, imagine the sun from far away. Not as the bright center of our days, but as one small star among countless others. Around it, the planets move quietly. Earth turns blue and white, wrapped in air and oceans. Beyond Neptune, the darkness widens. The sun's influence fades. The nearest stars wait across impossible distances, then pull back farther. The solar system becomes a point. Around it, other stars appear, then more, then clouds of gas, then dust lanes, then glowing nebulae. Then the long, curved structure of the Orion Arm begins to appear, not as a line, not as a wall, but as a river of stars flowing through the disk of the Milky Way. Somewhere inside that river is our sun. Somewhere around that sun is Earth. And somewhere on Earth, you are here, breathing under the night, part of a tiny world that somehow learned to know the shape of its own galactic home. The Orion Arm is vast. Our solar system is small. But small does not mean unimportant. It means fragile. It means rare. It means worth noticing. And tonight, while the stars continue their silent motion around the galaxy, our small blue world continues with them, lost in scale, held by gravity, surrounded by darkness, and glowing softly, for now, inside a river of stars. Good night.